I need to tell you something before I lose my nerve, before they find me, before I forget what really happened in room 309. My name is Michael, and until 3 weeks ago, I worked the night shift at Greenwood Valley Nursing Home. I took the job because it paid better than anything else I could find with just a high school diploma. Night shift meant fewer supervisors, less work, and an extra $2 per hour. It seemed perfect for someone like me, 23 years old and directionless. Greenwood Valley sits at the edge of town, surrounded by dense woods on 3 sides. It is a 3-story building that was constructed sometime in the 1960s, all concrete and small windows. The kind of place that looks gray even on sunny days. During my interview, the hiring manager, a tired woman named Patricia, walked me through the halls. The fluorescent lights hummed constantly. The air smelled like disinfectant trying to mask something underneath, something organic and failing. She showed me everything except the 3rd floor. When I asked about it, Patricia smiled in a way that did not reach her eyes. She told me the 3rd floor was mostly empty, reserved for long-term care patients who needed minimal interaction. I would rarely need to go up there, she said. Maybe once per shift to check the medication logs. I started on a Monday night in late September. My shift partner was supposed to be a guy named Carlos, but he called in sick. So it was just me, a building full of 70 sleeping elderly patients, and a supervisor who spent most of her time in the ground floor office. The first few hours were exactly what I expected. I walked the rounds, checked on patients, administered medications to the few who needed them at odd hours. Most of them were asleep, snoring softly or lying still in their beds. Some had televisions playing quietly. The whole place had that specific silence of a building full of sleeping people, punctuated by the occasional cough or the beep of a monitoring machine. Around 2 in the morning, I realized I had not checked the 3rd floor medication log yet. Patricia had left me a note reminding me to do it before 3. I took the elevator up, listening to the cables groan as the ancient machine climbed. When the doors opened, the 3rd floor greeted me with a wall of cold air that made me shiver despite my jacket. The lighting was dimmer up here. Half the fluorescent tubes seemed to be burned out, creating pools of shadow between weak islands of light. The hallway stretched in both directions, but most of the rooms had their doors open and lights off. Empty rooms. I could see the bare mattresses through the doorways. The nurses' station sat in the center of the floor, unmanned. A small desk lamp provided the only real light. I found the medication log exactly where it was supposed to be. As I flipped through the pages, checking off the required boxes, I noticed something odd. Room 309 was listed, but there were no medications recorded, no patient name, just a red stamp across the entry that said, "Do not enter." I stared at that stamp for a long moment. In my orientation, nobody had mentioned any rooms being off limits. I looked down the eastern hallway where the 300 rooms were located. Most doors stood open. But down at the end, barely visible in the dim light, one door was closed. Room 309. I should have just finished the log and gone back downstairs. I should have minded my own business. But curiosity is a terrible thing, especially at 2:30 in the morning when you are alone and bored. I told myself I just wanted to peek, to see why a room would be marked like that. Maybe it was under renovation. Maybe there was a mold problem. I walked down the hallway, my footsteps echoing off the linoleum floor. As I got closer, I noticed the temperature dropping further. My breath started to mist slightly in the air. That should have been my first warning, but I rationalized it. Old building, poor heating, 3rd floor always gets the worst of it. The door to room 309 looked exactly like every other door. Beige paint, A small window at eye level with a curtain pulled across it from the inside. A room number in black plastic digits. Nothing special, nothing frightening. I reached for the handle, and that is when I heard it. Humming. Someone was humming inside the room. A woman's voice, soft and melodic, humming a tune I almost recognized. Something old, something that reminded me of my grandmother, though I could not place exactly what song it was. I pulled my hand back from the door. If someone was in there, they had not been on any patient list I had seen. I pressed my face close to the small window, trying to see through the gap where the curtain did not quite reach the frame. The room was dark, but not completely. A faint blue light came from somewhere inside, like a television playing with no sound except that humming. I could make out the shape of a bed and what looked like a figure sitting on it. An elderly woman, maybe, with long hair. She sat very still, facing away from the door. The humming continued, never pausing, never changing in pitch or tempo, just that same melody over and over. I knocked gently on the door. The humming stopped instantly. The silence that followed felt thick, oppressive. I waited, my hand still raised to knock again, but something stopped me. The air around me had become absolutely frigid. I could see my breath clearly now, coming out in heavy clouds. Then the figure...
The bed moved. Not the way a person normally moves. It twisted, joints bending in directions that were not quite right, turning to face the door, to face me. I could not see details through the small window, just the suggestion of a face, pale and indistinct in that blue light. And then she smiled. I know she smiled because her teeth caught the light. Too many teeth. Teeth that seemed to reflect that blue glow like mirrors, filling her mouth in rows that no human should have. I stumbled backward, my heart hammering so hard I thought I might pass out. The temperature around me returned to normal so quickly it felt like walking through a curtain. I stood there in the hallway, shaking, staring at that closed door. The humming did not resume. No sound came from the room at all. After a minute, I forced myself to approach the window again, keeping my distance, just trying to see inside once more. The room was completely dark now, no blue light, no figure on the bed, just darkness. I practically ran back to the elevator, jamming the button repeatedly until the doors opened. As I stepped inside and turned around, I saw something that made my blood freeze. The door to room 309 was opening. Slowly. Just a few inches. The elevator doors closed before I could see what emerged, if anything emerged at all. I rode down to the first floor in a daze, my mind trying to rationalize what I had seen. A patient I did not know about, a trick of the light, my eyes adjusting poorly to the darkness. Anything except what I knew I had really seen. When I reached the ground floor, I went straight to the supervisor's office. Linda, the night supervisor, was reading a magazine with her feet up on the desk. She looked up when I burst in, probably reading the panic on my face. I asked her about room 309, about why it was marked "Do Not Enter" in the logs, about whether there was a patient up there I should know about. Linda's expression changed immediately. The casual friendliness drained away, replaced by something careful and guarded. She put down her magazine slowly, took her feet off the desk, and leaned forward. She told me that room 309 was not to be entered under any circumstances. It was not a matter for discussion. It was not a matter for questions. She asked me if I had gone inside, her voice sharp. When I said no, that I had only looked through the window, her shoulders relaxed slightly, but the tension in her face remained. She explained that some rooms in old buildings have problems, structural issues, environmental concerns, things that are not worth explaining to every new employee. Room 309 was one of those rooms. It would be dealt with eventually, but until then, I was to stay
out of it and stop asking questions.
I wanted to press her, to tell her what I had seen, but something in her eyes warned me not to. There was fear there,
buried under the administrative authority. She knew something she had no intention of sharing with me. I finished my shift in a fog, going through the motions of checking patients and filling out paperwork. I did not go back to the third floor. When dawn finally came and the day shift arrived, I left Greenwood Valley with the sunrise at my back, telling myself I would quit, that no amount of money was worth whatever was happening in room 309. But I did not quit. I needed the job, I needed the money, and some part of me, some stupid, curious part, wanted to understand what I had seen. So when my next shift came around 2 days later, I went back. And that is when things got so much worse. Chapter 2. My second night back, I made a promise to myself. Stay on the first and second floors, do my rounds, keep my head down. Do not think about room 309. That promise lasted exactly 4 hours. Around 2 in the morning, I was in the medication room on the second floor, restocking supplies and trying to stay busy. The nursing home was especially quiet that night. No call lights, no wandering patients, just the hum of the building itself, the heating system clicking on and off, the distant sound of a television someone had left playing. Then I heard it again, that humming, the same melody, the same woman's voice, soft and rhythmic, drifting through the ventilation system. I froze, my hand halfway to a bottle of pills. The sound was faint but unmistakable, seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. I stepped out into the hallway, following the sound, even though every rational part of my brain screamed at me to ignore it. The humming led me to a supply closet near the elevator. I had never paid much attention to this closet before. It was just one of many storage spaces scattered throughout the building. But now, standing in front of it, I noticed something I had missed before. The closet door was not quite flush with the frame. There was a gap, maybe half an inch, and through that gap came the faint sound of humming. And cold air, freezing cold air, spilling out around the edges of the door like fog. I should have walked away. I should have called Linda or another staff member or anyone. Instead, I opened the door. The closet was larger than I expected, deeper, extending back into shadows that my flashlight could not quite penetrate. Shelves lined both walls, stocked with the usual supplies: toilet paper, cleaning products, extra linens. But at the back of the closet, where the shadows were thickest, I saw something that did not belong. A second door. It was old, much older than the rest of the building. Heavy wood, dark with age, with an iron handle that looked like it belonged in a building from a century ago. And painted on that door, in faded white letters, was the number 309. The humming was coming from behind that door. I approached slowly, my flashlight beam shaking in my trembling hand. This did not make sense. Room 309 was on the third floor. I was on the second floor. There should not be another door with that number. There should not be a door here at all. But there it was, solid, real. And the humming behind it was getting louder. I reached out and touched the door. The wood was ice cold, so cold it burned my fingertips. The moment my hand made contact, the humming stopped. Just like before, the silence that followed was worse than any sound. Then came the knocking. 3 slow, deliberate knocks from the other side of the door. Then 3 more. Then 3 more, each set slightly faster than the last, building into a frantic hammering that shook the door in its frame. I stumbled backward, knocking over a shelf of supplies that clattered loudly to the floor. The knocking stopped. In the sudden silence, I heard something else. Breathing. Heavy, wet breathing, like someone with fluid in their lungs, struggling for air. Then a voice, thin, brittle,
like dried leaves scraping together. "Let me out, please, let me out." It was an old woman's voice, desperate and pleading. Every instinct I had told me this was wrong, that I should run, but the voice sounded so pitiful, so genuinely afraid. "Please, I have been in here so long in the dark. Please let me out." My hand moved toward the door handle almost on its own. I was not thinking clearly. The voice sounded so human, so helpless. What if someone was actually trapped in there? What if there was a rational explanation for all of this? I gripped the iron handle. It was so cold it felt like it was fusing to my skin. I began to turn it, feeling ancient mechanisms grinding inside the lock. The door began to open. What I saw through that widening gap was not a room. It was darkness, absolute and complete. A darkness so deep that my flashlight beam simply vanished into it without illuminating anything. And in that darkness, something moved. Something large, shifting with a sound like wet leather sliding over concrete. The pleading voice spoke again, but it was different now. Deeper, layered with other voices, dozens of them, all speaking at once. "Thank you. Thank you for opening the door. We have been waiting so long for someone to open the door." I slammed the door shut with all my strength, twisting the handle back into the locked position. The moment it clicked into place, something hit the other side with tremendous force, hard enough to crack the old wood. The entire door frame shook. I ran. I did not bother closing the supply closet door, did not look back, just ran for the elevator and hammered the button until the doors opened. As I stepped inside, I heard the sound of splintering wood echoing from the second-floor hallway. I took the elevator to the ground floor and went straight to Linda's office again. She was not alone this time. Another woman was with her, someone I had never seen before. Older, maybe in her 60s, dressed in a dark suit that looked expensive and completely out of place in a nursing home at 2 in the morning. They both looked up when I burst in, and the expression on their faces told me they had been expecting me. Linda stood up slowly. "You opened a door, did you not? You opened one of the 309 doors." I nodded, unable to speak, my breath coming in gasps. The older woman closed her eyes and cursed quietly. When she opened them again, she looked at me with something between pity and anger. "How much of it did you see?" she asked. Her voice was cold, administrative, like she was filling out a form. "Darkness," I managed to say. "Something moving in darkness, and a voice. Voices." The woman exchanged a look with Linda. "It spoke to you. Did you see it? Did anything come through before you closed the door?" "I do not know. I closed it. I closed it and ran." The woman stood up, reaching for a phone on Linda's desk. "We are going to need to evacuate the second floor, possibly the entire building. And call Martinson. Tell him we have a breach situation." Linda picked up another phone, her fingers shaking slightly as she dialed. I grabbed the older woman's arm. "What is happening? What is room 309? What did I almost let out?" She pulled her arm free and looked at me with eyes that held no warmth at all. "Room 309 is not a room, Mr. Parker. It is a door. It has always been a door. And doors like that exist in places like this for a reason. They exist because some things need to be kept separate from our world. Some things need to stay locked away." She moved toward the office door, then paused and looked back at me. "You should quit, Mr. Parker, tonight. Walk out of here and do not come back. Because now that you have touched one of those doors, now that it has heard your voice and felt your presence, it will not stop looking for you. They never do." Then she was gone, moving quickly down the hallway with Linda following close behind, both of them speaking urgently into their phones. I stood alone in that office, shaking, trying to process what I had just been told. A door.
Room 309 was a door. But a door to what? And what had I almost released? I did not quit that night. I know I should have. But something had changed in me when I touched that door. Something had connected. And even though I was terrified, even though every rational part of my mind screamed at me to leave and never return, I could not shake the feeling that this was not over. That whatever was behind those doors knew me now, and it was not done with me yet. I should have listened to that woman. I should have walked away that night and never looked back. But I did not. I could not. Because 2 nights after the incident with the door, the dreams started. They were not normal dreams. They were too vivid, too detailed. I would find myself standing in a hallway that looked like the 2nd floor of Riverside, but wrong somehow. The proportions were off. The ceiling was too high. The walls stretched into impossible distances. And at the end of every hallway, there it was. Room 309. The door standing open. That absolute darkness beyond it, waiting, breathing. In the dreams, I would walk toward it. I did not want to, but my legs moved without my control, carrying me closer and closer to that yawning blackness. And as I approached, I would hear voices, dozens of them, hundreds, all calling my name, beckoning me forward. Daniel Parker, we know you. We remember you. You touched our door. You are ours now. Come closer. Come see what we have to show you. I would wake up drenched in sweat, my heart hammering, the taste of copper in my mouth. And each morning when I looked in the mirror, I looked worse, thinner, paler, dark circles forming under my eyes that grew deeper with each passing day. But I kept going back to work. I told myself I needed the money, that I had bills to pay. But the truth was darker than that. The truth was that some part of me wanted to go back, wanted to understand what room 309 really was. Linda avoided me now. She would not make eye contact when we passed in the hallways. The other nurses had started treating me differently too. They would stop talking when I entered a room. They would find excuses to switch shifts or take different assignments so they did not have to work near me. Only Gerald, the night security guard, still treated me normally. He was an older black man with gray hair and kind eyes, someone who had worked at Riverside for over 20 years. On my 5th night back, he pulled me aside during my break. "They told you about the doors," he said. It was not a question. I nodded. Gerald sighed and looked down at his hands. I seen 4 people touch those doors in my time here. 4 people who got curious, who thought they could handle it. You know how many of them are still alive? I felt my stomach tighten. How many? None, Daniel. Not a single one. And the ways they died? He shook his head. Those were not natural deaths. Those were not accidents. What happened to them? The first one, woman named Jennifer. She made it about 3 weeks after she opened one of the doors. They found her in her apartment. She had clawed her own eyes out, left a note that just said, "I cannot stop seeing them," over and over again, 50 times on the same page. He paused, and I could see the memory was painful for him. The second was a guy named Marcus. He lasted a little longer, almost a month. Started saying he could hear them calling to him all the time. Started trying to come to work even when he was not scheduled, trying to get back to the 2nd floor. We had to have security escort him out. Week later, he drove his car off a bridge, 90 miles an hour straight into the river. Never even touched the brakes. Gerald, I am not finished. His voice was firm now,
almost angry. Third was a nurse named Amy. Sweet girl. Had a family, 2 kids. After she touched one of the doors, she started walking in her sleep. Her husband would find her standing in their backyard at 3 in the morning, staring at nothing. One night he woke up and she was gone. They found her in the woods 5 miles from her house. She had walked barefoot through snow to get there. She was kneeling in front of a big oak tree, her hands pressed against the bark. And she was smiling, Daniel. Biggest smile you ever saw. But she was dead. Heart had just stopped. I felt cold spreading through my chest. And the fourth? The fourth was my partner. Man I worked with for 8 years. His name was Tom. Gerald's voice cracked slightly. He opened one of those doors about 3 years ago. Lasted 2 weeks. Started coming to work with scratches all over his arms. Said he was doing it in his sleep. Said he could feel something touching him in the dark, something with cold fingers. The last night I saw him, he told me he understood now. He said the doors were not keeping something out, they were keeping something in, and that something wanted him to help set it free. What happened to him? Gerald looked at me with eyes full of grief. He came to work on a night I was off. Somehow got past the locks and went to the 2nd floor. They found him inside room 309, or what was left of him. The door was standing wide open, and Tom was lying on the floor just inside the threshold. They said his body looked like it had been turned inside out, like something had grabbed him and pulled him through himself. The break room suddenly felt too small, too hot. I could feel my pulse throbbing in my temples. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Because you still got a chance," Gerald said, gripping my shoulder. "You closed the door fast. You did not see everything. Maybe, just maybe, you can still walk away from this. But you gotta do it now, Daniel. Tonight. Do not come back here. Move if you have to. Change your name. Do whatever it takes to put distance between you and this place." The woman that night, the one in the suit, she said the same thing. She said it would not stop looking for me. What did she mean? That woman was Dr. Reeves. She works for some kind of organization that deals with places like this. Places where the walls are thin, where things from the other side can push through. Gerald leaned closer, his voice dropping to almost a whisper. Riverside was not always a nursing home, Daniel. This building is over 100 years old, used to be something else. And whatever happened here, whatever was done in this place, it left marks. It left openings. The doors on the 2nd floor, room 309, they are not normal doors. They are seals. They are keeping something contained, something that has been trying to get out for a very long time. But why does it want me? What does it want? It wants what it always wants. It wants to expand. It wants to push through into our world. And it needs people to do that. People who can open the doors from this side. Once you touch one of those doors, once you hear the voices, you become a weakness, a point of connection. And it will keep working on you, keep pushing on you until you break, until you go back and open that door again. "I will not," I said. "I will not go back there. I will quit. Tonight." Gerald nodded slowly, but I could see in his eyes that he did not believe me. He had seen this before. He knew how it ended. "I hope you mean that, son. I really do. But you need to understand something. It is not just about whether you go back to work here. That thing behind the door, it knows you now. It has your scent, your frequency. whatever you want to call it. And it can reach you through the dreams, through reflections, through any dark space where the walls are thin. Your apartment, your car at night, anywhere you are alone in the dark. He stood up, preparing to continue his rounds. If you really want to survive this, you need to follow some rules. Sleep with the lights on, always. Do not look into mirrors in the dark. Do not go into empty rooms alone. And whatever you do, if you hear your name being called and you cannot see who is calling, do not answer. Just run. He left me sitting there in the break room, my coffee growing cold in my hands, trying to process everything he had told me. I made it through the rest of that shift in a daze. I avoided the second floor entirely, stayed on the ground floor with the patients who were still awake and the nurses doing their rounds. As the sun started to rise and my shift ended, I walked out of Riverside fully intending never to return. But as I reached my car in the parking lot, I felt it. A pull, like a fish hook caught in my sternum, tugging gently toward the building, toward the second floor, toward room 309. I got in my car and drove away as fast as I could. That was 3 days ago. I have not gone back to work. I called in sick the first day, then stopped answering my phone entirely. But Gerald was right about the dreams. They have gotten worse, much worse. Now when I close my eyes, I am not just walking toward the door. I am inside room 309, inside that darkness. And there are things in there with me. Things that brush past me with skin like oil and ice. Things that whisper my name with mouths that should not exist. Last night, I woke up standing in my kitchen. I do not remember getting out of bed. I was standing in front of my back door, my hand on the doorknob, slowly turning it. And in the window of the door, in the reflection of the glass, I saw something standing behind me. Something tall and thin with too many joints in its arms. I spun around. Nothing was there. But when I looked back at the window, it was still visible in the reflection, watching me, smiling with a mouth full of teeth like broken glass. I have started keeping every light in my apartment on. I have covered the mirrors with sheets. I am drinking coffee constantly to stay awake because I am terrified of what will happen if I dream again. But I can feel it getting stronger. The pull is worse now. It is not just a feeling anymore. This morning, I found myself walking toward my front door without meaning to. My legs were moving on their own, carrying me toward my car, toward Riverside, toward the second floor. I barely stopped myself. I grabbed the door frame and held on until the compulsion passed. But it took everything I had. And I know it is only going to get worse. I am writing this down because I do not know how much time I have left. Because I can feel myself losing this fight. The thing behind the door, whatever it is patient. It has been waiting for a long time. It can wait a little longer. But I am human. I am weak. And eventually, I am going to break. I have tried to research this. I have looked online for information about Riverside, about its history, about what it used to be before it became a nursing home. But I cannot find anything. It is like the information has been scrubbed, erased, removed from every database and record. I called the number I found for Dr. Reeves, the woman in the suit. It rang 4 times and then went to a voicemail that just said, "Leave a message." I explained who I was, begged for help, asked her what I could do to make this stop. She has not called back. I am running out of options, running out of time. I have not slept in 36 hours. I am seeing things in the corners of my vision now. Shadows that move wrong, shapes that should not exist, and the voices. God, the voices. I can hear them even when I am awake now, faint but constant, calling my name from every dark space. Daniel, Daniel Parker, come back to us. Come open the door. We have so much to show you, so much to share. I do not know what to do. I do not know how to fight something like this. All I know is that the pull is getting stronger and I am getting weaker, and sooner or later, I am going to lose this battle. When that happens, when I finally break and go back to Riverside, back to the second floor, back to room 309, I do not think I am going to come back out again. And whatever is behind that door will finally be free. I tried one more thing. One last desperate attempt to break free from whatever had attached itself to me. I drove to a church. Not the big modern one with the coffee bar and the rock band. An old one. Stone walls, stained glass windows that looked like they had been there for 100 years. The kind of place that felt heavy with faith, with history, with something older than the thing hunting me. The priest was an elderly man, Father Michael, with kind eyes and hands that shook slightly when he poured me water. I told him everything. The nursing home, the door, the dreams, the pull. I expected him to look at me like I was insane, to politely suggest a psychiatrist. Instead, he just nodded slowly and said, "There are thin places in the world, places where the membrane between here and there grows weak. It sounds like you have found one, and worse, it has found you." He tried. He really did. He prayed over me, anointed me with holy oil, gave me blessed salt to put around my bed. He spoke in Latin, pressed a cross into my palm, told me to have faith. For about 6 hours, it worked. The pull faded to almost nothing. The voices stopped. I actually felt hope. Then I fell asleep in my car outside the church, and I dreamed I was back in room 309. But this time, I was not alone. Father Michael was there with me, standing in the darkness, and something was happening to him. His skin was peeling away like wet paper, and underneath was something else. Something that looked at me with eyes that were not eyes, and smiled with that broken glass mouth. And it spoke with his voice. "Did you really think your little prayers would work here, Daniel? Did you think faith could protect you from us? We are older than your God. We were here first, and you invited us in." I woke up screaming. The blessed salt around my bed had turned black. The cross in my hand was burning hot. When I dropped it, I saw that it had left a mark on my palm. Not a burn, a symbol. Like the scratches on the door, but smaller. Burned into my skin. That was 12 hours ago. Since then, I have been driving, just driving, staying in motion, staying in public places, staying in the light. But it is getting harder. My hands keep trying to turn the wheel toward Riverside. My foot keeps pressing the accelerator when I am pointed in that direction, easing off when I am not. I am not in control anymore. I stopped at a gas station an hour ago. I went inside to use the bathroom, and when I came out, my car was gone. Not stolen. I still had the keys in my pocket. Gone. Just gone. And I was standing in the parking lot of Riverside Nursing Home. I do not remember driving here. I do not remember getting in the car, but here I am. standing in the same parking lot I swore I would never return to. The sun is setting. The building looks different in the dying light, darker, like it is made of shadow instead of brick. I can see the second floor window, room 309. There is a light on inside now, a pale, sickly light that pulses like a heartbeat. The front door of the building is opening. Gerald is there. He looks sad, resigned. "I am sorry, son," he says, though he is too far away for me to hear him. I can just see his lips moving. "I tried to warn you." My legs are moving, carrying me toward the entrance. I am fighting it, fighting with everything I have, but it is like fighting a riptide. Useless, exhausting. The pull is too strong now. I am inside the building. The lobby is empty. The lights are flickering. I can hear the elevator at the end of the hall, its doors opening with that familiar ding, waiting for me. My feet are carrying me toward it. 1 step, 2 steps, 3. I am in the elevator now. My hand is reaching for the button. 2nd floor. I am pressing it, even though every cell in my body is screaming at me to run, to press the ground floor button, to do anything else. The doors are closing. The elevator is rising. I can hear them now. The voices. So many voices. Chanting my name in unison. A chorus of the damned welcoming me home. Daniel Parker. Daniel Parker. Daniel Parker. The doors are opening. The 2nd floor hallway stretches out before me, longer than it should be. The fluorescent lights are all dead, except for one at the very end of the hall, right outside room 309. It flickers and buzzes, casting everything in that stuttering pale light. I am walking. I cannot stop walking. Past room 301, 303, 305, 307. I am standing in front of the door now. Room 309. The scratches on the door are glowing faintly, and as I watch, new ones appear, carved by invisible claws from the inside. They form words, a message just for me. Welcome home, Daniel. My hand is reaching for the doorknob. I am screaming inside my own head, begging my body to stop, to turn around, to run. But my hand closes around the cold metal. It is colder than anything I have ever felt. Cold that burns. Cold that goes deeper than skin, deeper than bone. I am turning the knob. The door is opening. The darkness inside is absolute. Not the darkness of a room with the lights off. The darkness of a void, of nothing, of the spaces between spaces, where things that should not exist wait patiently for their chance to enter our world. And standing in that darkness, I can see them now. The things that have been calling to me. Dozens of them. Hundreds. Tall and thin with too many joints. skin that looks like oil and melted wax, eyes that glow with a light that hurts to see, and mouths, so many mouths, all smiling, all full of broken glass teeth. And standing at the front of them, closest to the door, is someone I recognize. It is me, another Daniel Parker, but wrong, twisted. His eyes are black from edge to edge. His smile is too wide, splitting his face nearly in half. And when he speaks, his voice is my voice, but layered with 1,000 others underneath. "Thank you," he says. "We have been waiting so long for someone to open the door from your side. The door can only be opened by someone living, someone with a soul, someone like you." He steps forward, stepping out of the darkness into the hallway, into my world. And as he crosses the threshold, I understand. This was never about me. I was never the prey. I was the key. The door could not be opened from the inside. It needed someone on the outside to turn the knob, to invite them through. And I just did. The things in the darkness are moving now, flowing out of room 309 like water from a burst dam, spreading out into the hallway, into the nursing home, into the world. They move past me without touching me. They have no interest in me anymore. I have served my purpose. The thing wearing my face looks at me one more time. "You can go now, Daniel. You are free. The pull is gone. You will not have the dreams anymore. You can go back to your life. Go back to your apartment. Sleep soundly. Forget any of this ever happened." He pats me on the shoulder with a hand that feels like ice wrapped in leather. "We will handle things from here." Then he walks away, down the hall, toward the elevator, followed by the parade of horrors that I have unleashed. I am standing alone now, in front of the open door to room 309. The darkness inside is receding, becoming normal darkness. Just an empty room, just shadows. He was right. The pull is gone. I can feel it. The compulsion, the voices, the dreams, all of it has vanished like it was never there. I am free. But at what cost? I stumble back down the hallway, down the stairs. I cannot bear to use the elevator, out through the lobby, into the parking lot. My car is there, keys in the ignition, exactly where I left it. I drive home in a daze. That was 2 weeks ago. True to his word, I have not had the dreams. The voices are gone. The pull is gone. I can sleep with the lights off. I can look in mirrors. I can be alone in the dark. But I cannot forget. I have been watching the news obsessively, checking every local channel, every news website, waiting for reports of something terrible. But there has been nothing. No mass casualties, no unexplained deaths, no reports of monsters in the street. But there have been other things, smaller things. A spike in missing persons reports. People vanishing from their homes in the middle of the night with no signs of forced entry. An increase in violent crimes, but the perpetrators are never caught. Security cameras malfunction at critical moments. Witnesses report seeing the suspects but cannot quite describe what they looked like, their memories slipping away like water. And there are the stories online, posted anonymously on forums, quickly deleted but not before I see them. People reporting that their loved ones are acting strangely, that they look right but feel wrong, that sometimes, late at night, they see their husband, their wife, their child, standing in a dark corner, just staring at them with eyes that reflect light like an animal. I have started to wonder how many of them are still human. How many have been replaced? How many of those things are out there now, wearing human faces, living human lives, spreading slowly through the population like a virus? And I have started to wonder if it even matters, because I am the one who let them out. I opened the door. Riverside Nursing Home is closed now, permanently. I drove by there last week. There is a chain-link fence around the property and a sign that says, "Condemned, do not enter." The windows are all dark. But sometimes, late at night, I swear I can see a light on the second floor, in the window of room 309. Gerald is gone. I tried to find him, to apologize, to ask what I should do, but he has vanished. No forwarding address, no phone number. It is like he never existed. I am still here, living my life, going through the motions. I got a new job. Night shift again because apparently I do not learn. But this time it is at a warehouse. No people, no locked doors, no thin places. But I cannot escape the knowledge of what I did. The guilt sits in my chest like a stone. Every time I see a stranger on the street, I wonder if they are human or something else. Every time I hear about someone going missing, I wonder if it is because of me. I thought about going to the police, telling them everything. But what would I say? That I opened a door and let monsters out? They would lock me up in a psychiatric facility. And maybe they would be right to do so. So instead, I am telling you. I am posting this as a warning. If you work at a nursing home, a hospital, an old building, anywhere with a history and rooms that stay locked, if there is a door that everyone avoids, a room that is always empty, a place that feels wrong, do not open it. Do not go inside. Do not listen to the voices. Do not follow the pull. Because some doors are locked for a reason. Some rooms should stay empty, and some things should never be let out. I opened the door to room 309, and I cannot close it again. Whatever happens next, whatever those things do now that they are free, it is on me. I will carry that weight for the rest of my life, however long that may be. But you do not have to. You can learn from my mistake. You can walk away. You can leave the door closed. Please, for the love of God, leave the door closed. Because once you open it, once you let them through, there is no going back. And they are always, always hungry for more.